Margaret.
Hello, friends. Hey, good to see some familiar faces out there. How are y'all? Oh, okay, that is a picture of John Bowen. It's actually not video of him. I thought he was being very, very still. And it turns out it's actually just a picture. I see Dimitri. I see Nathan. I see Grams. Great to have you all.
Hi, Margaret.
Margaret. All right. Hey, very cool. Where are you all tuning in from?
Go ahead. Who's first?
I'm sheltering in place.
Yes.
My name is Dimitri. I'm coming from Portland, Oregon.
Cool.
And
welcome.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I represent the Slavic organization called Slavic Vote.
Okay.
Cool. I think I know someone in this area that's part of that.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, and we do a voter guide, so we'd like to learn about all of our candidates that we're going to be recommending. So.
Hey, Miguel.
Sure, that is awesome. Hey guys, before we continue, I just want to say really quick. We're gonna kind of strive to be muted unless we're actively talking. So hold on a second. I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. So basically, you can easily unmute yourself using the space bar, or you can click the unmute button at the bottom left of your Zoom window. And also, we're going to take a few minutes. I'd love for you guys to continue introducing yourselves. And we're also going to take a minute to take this live stream on Facebook and share it out to different places so that everybody out there can see it. Because this is not only taking place on Zoom, it's also being live streamed to Facebook. So actually, if you guys want to take a minute, if you could think of at least one place to share it, maybe your personal profile or a group, then go ahead and blast it out there. And then we will get this show on the road. So, so who's next to introduce themselves? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hey, real quick, let me interject here, Miguel. So can you pass the controls back over to me real quick? It doesn't seem to want to let me stream. You're muted. There you go.
Yes, I am making you the host again. So who all has gotten about 12 times more acquainted with Zoom than they ever have in their life just in the past week or 2 weeks? Am I right? Make host. Okay, everyone. Anthony Welti is our host. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you for hosting us.
No.
So, yeah, okay. Well, that has been enough time spent on random housekeeping items. Nathan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Nathan Diley, and I am the former chair of the Libertarian Party of King County. I now am just helping, I guess, as the political director of the Libertarian Party of King County, and I'm pleased to be here. I'm a big fan of Anthony's, a campaign contributor. I encourage other people to do the same. And of course, I'm a big fan of Joseph's. He, until recently, was my vice chair. And of course, I support him in his candidacy for the state house. And that's all I have to say about that.
Awesome. Love it. Yes. Nathan is very crucial to our organization here at LP King County. Don't let him tell you otherwise. It was very, very modest. I guess I'm helping as he's the political director for everyone's information. And pretty much Nathan here, he's making things happen behind the scenes. He's pulling strings, and he's the one really running the show. So Dimitri, we got to meet sorry, your name one more time? Not Graham's.
My name is Margaret Coulomb. I'm up here in Ferndale, Washington, and
Cool.
I don't know that much, but I'm just here to learn what I can.
Sweet. Great to have you. Anthony, we're going to be looking for that on your campaign page, aren't we?
Yep, I believe it should be up. I'm just refreshing.
It is up there now, and I'm sharing it to my campaign page as well.
Nice.
Cool. Yep. So it's on Anthony Welti's campaign page. If you can't find it, just look
I'm gonna copy a link and then post it in the chat here on Zoom.
You'll do that.
What's that?
You'll do that.
Yeah, I'm about to pull it up.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. You got a cool little live button thing. Ah, there we go.
Anthony, that doesn't look like a trailer. Where are you?
I'm at my in-laws.
Cool.
Well, I can get more into that later, but yeah, we had to hunker down. We're sheltering in place as well.
Cool.
Also, I didn't mean to overlook, we have Lori McPherson on the call, as well as Lily. I don't know if you guys are able to talk. Feel free to unmute yourself, and we're happy to have you.
Hi, this is Lori McPherson. I'm actually the assistant campaign manager for Anthony Welti, and I'm sheltering in place in Greater King County.
Sweet, awesome to have you. Okay, I'm
Thanks.
looking at our live stream now and about to share that out to various places. All right, we will get this started eventually.
It's all good. In the meantime, I'll introduce myself. I'm Lily. I'm a resident of Vancouver, Washington. And honestly, I love town halls, and this is exciting because Zoom is kind of the new trend. So, and I always love to learn. I've been in politics for about 6 years. So yeah.
Sweet. Yes. Town halls are awesome. Are they not? This is where it really happens. Get to directly interface with people who may well be some of our newest lawmakers, representatives. All right. Well, I have posted it to the LP King County group, and
I'm ready.
yeah, let's
I'm good to go.
get the show on the road. All right. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to have you here today. My name is Miguel Duque. I am the chair of the Libertarian Party of King County for 2020, just as of, I suppose it was like just a hair over a month ago. And our new team is really excited to do some awesome stuff. We're kind of kicking it off with this town hall with one of our favorite people, two of our favorite people, silly of me to say, Anthony Welti and Joe. And I should know how to pronounce your last name by now. And I will have to just completely admit that I'm gonna need your help on that one. So yes, do you want to pronounce it for us?
It's Cimaomo. Pronounce the C as an S, drop the
Cimaomo.
A, and you'll get it.
Cimaomo. Knew that. Hey, awesome. We got some new folks joining in too. So we're doing this town hall with two candidates for state office in Washington. And first off, let me go ahead and let you know a little bit about our candidates that we get to hang out with tonight. I wrote up some really great introductions for Anthony and Joe. Actually, okay, so I didn't write them myself. I had some of our people do it. So just to be perfectly transparent. Let's see. So Anthony is a proud libertarian who's excited to be running the largest third-party campaign for office in the entire country. His focus is on outreach and genuine conversation with voters has helped him. His focus on outreach and genuine conversation with voters has helped him raise $50,000 for his campaign against the longest standing politician in the state of Washington. Focusing on reduced government control and increased accountability has Anthony winning over voters from left and right. And Joseph Cimaomo was raised in the Kent-Covington area, where he and his wife Cynthia are raising their two sons, Ryan, 12, and Logan, 3. Joseph has served the Covington community on the city council since 2014, where he has made transportation, recreation, and public safety his main priorities. Before serving on city council, he served on the Covington Budget Priorities Committee, helping the city to ensure the budget represented the needs of all residents of Covington. Joseph has served Covington on regional boards dealing with transportation, solid waste, homelessness, and domestic violence. His legislative priorities include transportation, education funding, and mental health. So, without further ado, I would love for us to hear from these two guys. We wanted to do like maybe a couple minutes for opening remarks from each. And why don't we kick it off with Anthony?
Awesome. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Even though it might feel like a Tuesday or a Sunday or a Wednesday or Groundhog's Day right now, so many of us are, kind of stuck at home. I hope you guys are having an opportunity to get some of your to-do list done, get some of the chores done around the house. So hopefully when we, eventually break out here, we can just get on to enjoying spring and summer. But, I'm excited to be here with Joseph and Miguel here. I think it's really important that people get involved in our communities, and politics is just one way that we can do that. And to get to know Miguel here just over the last 6 months and Joseph over the last, about 4 years or so, it has been encouraging to me to find other, smart people that want to help the communities and bring, similar free market solutions. Small government solutions, ideas that will put you back in control of your life. So I'm just grateful to be here with you guys tonight. And, I'm an open book. I've got nothing but desire to serve the community, serve the state, and to answer any questions you have. You're not going to hear me trying to sell you a bill of goods that I don't think I can follow through on. I think we need to get some new ideas in government, because the two-party system that we've had it for a long time has really shown what their policies are capable of doing. We're right here at the worst time possible with this coronavirus outbreak. We're seeing a shortage on beds. We're seeing, high medical costs. We're seeing that, people are getting, pushed out of work. We're seeing that nurses don't have the supplies they need. And there are so many solutions that I've been talking about for years that would have addressed these situations before this happened. And that's not to say it wouldn't have also, still had some issues or been bad. But ultimately, we could have had some better outcomes, and we would have seen a lot less pressure on a really burdened medical system right now. So feel free to reach out if you got any questions. You can chime in the chat feature, and we'll make sure to try to get to your questions here throughout the call.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. I was just welcoming everybody in the chat. Just, like Anthony said, definitely this is in an interactive, it's a town hall. We didn't want to make it a live stream. We wanted to make it like in this social distancing world, we could actually connect with one another. And it's almost like we're here at an event together and we want to hear from you. So chime in with your questions, your comments, insults, whatever, right? So why don't we go on to Joe? Let's hear some, yeah.
Can I ask Anthony something?
Oh, yeah.
When you said you had some plans that you would have had in place, like what kind of stuff would that be? Like, sorry, I was actually trying to invite somebody to the meeting, so I didn't hear everything, but you said if you had been there, you would have had some things done in place.
Oh, yeah, I've got a multitude of things that I'd like to talk about tonight that I think would have made this crisis a lot more responsive in the medical system. So we can dive into some of those here in a minute. Joseph, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joseph Cimaomo. If you missed on the pronunciation of my name, and you might be hearing my 3-year-old in the background real quick, as I'm a Covington City Council member. I've been serving on the Covington City Council, which, if some of you don't know where that is, we are in southeast King County. And if you still don't know where that is, we're between Kent and Maple Valley. Everyone seems to know those two cities for some reason. My goals I'm running for the 47th Legislative District, position number 2. My position used to be held by the state majority leader. He chose to retire the day after the session ended, and I announced 2 days after the session ended. My goals for going into the legislature is pretty much the same as Anthony's, is to lower the government's responsibility on our lives, but to make our lives better. Right now, with this COVID-19 going on, there are many things that we could and should be doing to help everyday citizens get along with their lives. And they start with stopping certain taxes, making sure that those taxes, that tax dollars that are going to the state, are staying in your pocket, staying in your employer's pocket, so your employer doesn't have to lay you off. My employer just told me this morning that we're cutting everybody's hours. So it's one of those things that we need to find solutions, and my goals are to continue to work to find those solutions, and not just work with the Republicans, but work with the Democrats to find these solutions. Work with Anthony to find to help him get the solutions he's got going in the insurance commissioner's office to make sure that they're going across the state. In Covington, I've been the voice to make sure we're not raising taxes. We've raised one tax in the last few years, and I think that was still one too many. We're working constantly to keep our tax base as tight as we can. We're right now freezing budgets, and it's one of those things that we have to understand. Things are going to be tough for the next few months, maybe for the rest of the year, if not into next year. And we need to be looking for solutions to make sure everybody has people going strong. And that's going to be reducing taxes and making sure that the burdens on the people are not going too crazy.
Thank you, Joe. Cool. Well, it's really great to be able to hear from both of you. And being that this is a town hall, we want to make today about what our people here want to hear about from you, what they want to know. All of us, most of us here, coming from the Libertarian Party, we want to know what sorts of things you'll do to reduce the size and scope of government, like you've talked about a little bit already. And just to make it focus on questions, I have a few questions for you, and then I'd love for us to just kind of open up to everybody in the room. So we'll start with Anthony. So Anthony, you're running for, like we talked about, the basically the biggest state level campaign, or the biggest campaign, basically one of the biggest highest offices in the nation as far as Libertarian Party members go. So, tell us a little bit about what kind of response you've seen from different voters, from Libertarian voters, from Democrat, from Republican, from independent voters. What kind of response have you been getting out there?
Yeah, I'm excited to be carrying the Libertarian torch here at the state level, and to really represent our ideas and our philosophies on a big stage. And we've got other candidates around the state that I'm also looking forward to work with. I just got off another town hall type call with the governor candidate in Indiana, Donald Rainwater. He's got some pretty good ideas and has got a good head on his shoulders. So so much of what I'm doing is talking about things like buying insurance across state lines. And to be able to, make relationships with somebody like Joseph, they could help me pass those rules in the legislature, or somebody like Donald, running over in Indiana, really is going to be crucial to getting our ideas actually passed and realized at a national level. So, I'm excited to bring our solutions to the forefront. Right now, government is really making insurance worse than it already is. And you would think that in a lot of ways it's as bad as it can get. But what we're seeing in this last legislative cycle is a state government here in Washington that actually tried and then stopped trying without a vote to actually go into health insurance companies' reserve accounts because they said they had too much money put away. And they wanted to raid that money and then use it for pet projects. And now we see, literally a month after that never actually saw a vote on the floor, we have a coronavirus that is severely depleting resources in the medical system and putting a huge burden economically on us because of it. And our health insurance dollars are going to be what's paying that. And had they gone in and pulled those reserve funds out of it, whatever insurance rate increase we might be seeing in the horizon would have easily been double. And we need people in government that will look, full ahead, long term. What are the unintended consequences if we do that? How could that be harmful if we enacted a law like that? And unfortunately, we don't have representation right now that worries about how things might damage the American people, the citizens of Washington, the people of Covington, the people of Marysville. And ultimately, we have to start looking out for the little guy again, because we've got too many people falling through the cracks. And it's because we're only seeing one size fits all party rule pretty much at every state government here. You gotta mute yourself.
Yes, thank you. All right, cool. So hey, Joe, love to hear a bit more from you. Tell us about kind of what you told us about some of your campaign goals. I remember, you're tell us again about what you're focused on. I know there's school funding reform, right?
Yes.
And transportation.
Transportation, school funding reform, mental health. 2 years ago, the state legislature passed a new school funding measure to be in compliance with the McCleary decision. And if you pay property taxes in the state of Washington, you are familiar with McCleary saying that that the state of Washington was not meeting its burden of education for the youth. So they raised property taxes. There are areas in this state where your property tax went up 120%. There are areas in this state where your property tax didn't go up all that much, but we're seeing people getting taxed out of their homes. I'd like to find ways and finding things that are in the budget currently to where we can take that money that's coming from that property taxes and lower the property taxes again. I'd like to get the property taxes completely down to zero, but I don't see that happening in the first 2 years of being in the House. Lofty goal I have, lofty goal it'll be on a pin board in my office. I promise you that. But I'd like to see us find the revenue in the state budget. In fiscal year 2018, recreational marijuana brought in over $350 million in revenue. And none of that money is going to anything worthwhile. $198 million of that dollars is going straight into the general fund to be used at will for however they want to use it. My thoughts are we take that money, which is increasing every year, but to do so, to continue the growth of the marijuana industry, I want to make sure that the cities aren't taking away the abilities for these entrepreneurs to stop them. I want to be able to have these open markets for this industry we then take that money. Colorado had the right idea. They're throwing it in. They're taking the marijuana excise taxes that they're getting and they're putting it into roads and education. We can do that too, because that way we're going to be lower our taxes on property. We're going to lower our taxes in sales tax because the money that's going into those funds now are what's going with education. But I want to use that money for mental health funding and educate in schools. We have teenagers who are committing suicide. We have teenagers who are clinically depressed and are on so much medication that they're robots. But if we can get them the help that they need in the school systems, we can help. And now I'm not saying that that's the answer to everything. It starts at home. It starts with the families. But if we can provide some extra help and the money that's already in the budget that's not being used how I think appropriately, we can do that. Same thing goes with transportation. We need to make sure that the funding that's going in there is being used appropriately. We need to make sure that whoever's in office right now is making sure that the budgets are being written like with the $30 car tabs. Now, we all know that the freeze ended. The injunction was thrown out. If you didn't know that, the injunction is gone. You have $30 car tabs. If you paid more than $30, you should be getting a refund. So with that being said, we need to make sure that the vote of the people is always respected. We had people suing because they didn't think that the people of the state knew what they were voting for. We've heard that time and again. No, we know what we're voting for. We know we want $30 car tabs because people are paying $1,000 for car tabs on a 15-year-old car. Not something they should be doing. We need to ensure, and that's one of those things. I want to make sure that the vote of the people is always respected. Whether I agree with the vote of the people or not, doesn't matter. People said this is what they want. This is what we're going to do. And that's always going to be my priorities, is making sure that the people come first. Whether they want it, if that's what they want, then we're going to work hard to make sure that we find the best way to get it for them.
Isn't it just, I don't know. It's so pitiful sometimes where you hear that stuff about how, oh, voters didn't know what they were voting for. Or they don't, it's like voters don't know better when they're, going along with or trying to support smaller government or less taxes. They know perfectly good, though, whenever it involves increases of the government. Of course, the will of the people, must be seen to. So, also just, I want to say a great highlight out of everything you just said. I think what the headline in the newspaper should be Joe Cimaomo wants to reduce property taxes to zero. I mean, yeah, not within 2 years. But you did say that that's your goal. It's a lofty one, but we're holding you to it.
It's a lofty goal. It'll sit on a pinboard in my office, and we'll find ways to get there.
Great. I want to see a selfie. I want to see photographic evidence. And yeah, I mean, I want to see you out there with the bullhorn saying zero property taxes, right? So anyhow, I don't want to take too much time from everyone else here. We got a bunch of cool people in the room. There's honestly so many different things we could ask you about, right? We could ask you about libertarian philosophy. We could ask you about local issues, right? We could ask you about just yourselves, kind of your personal story, your experience and whatnot. So I'd love to start hearing from various folks here. Maybe if you want to just unmute yourself and just one at a time, throw your questions out for either Anthony or Joe. Who'd like to go first?
I've got something, if that's all right, Miguel.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, so my question is for Anthony, and it's regarding basically the scope of your role as insurance commissioner should you be elected. What are some examples of reforms that you could implement, say unilaterally? In my head, I'm sort of thinking rolling back something that has been previously implemented without a vote, just implemented from that office. And then what are some examples of things where you would need people like Joseph and others to basically pass legislation to implement positive change and rolling back unnecessary burdens upon our society?
Yeah, awesome question. And this will actually really kind of show the diversity of what this role could be. So first off, the position of insurance commissioner affects all types of insurance: your health insurance, your car insurance, your home insurance, your small business insurance, your long-term care, your title insurance, and everything in between. Okay, there's a whole bunch of things going on there. So to answer your question directly, like something I could unilaterally do is a topic that is actually new just in the last about year or so, as even being an issue in the first place, is gun memberships and gun liability insurance being kind of attacked by the left politicians here in this state, including the incumbent insurance commissioner and Bob Ferguson's office as well. So what they did here in Washington was they said that it is illegal to sell gun insurance in Washington. And what gun insurance is if you're let's say you're a concealed carry person, you pull your gun and you discharge it in, let's say, a self-defense situation, you might have some legal defense. Another example of that would be, many people's roadside assistance has legal defense on it. If you get pulled over and you go to jail, sometimes your roadside assistance will cover a bond to get you out of jail. It'll be a 1-800 number you could call for legal advice. These gun memberships work in very similar ways. The insurance commissioner banned them, saying that it's illegal to insure a crime in Washington. And that's wrong for two reasons. The most atrocious reason why it's wrong is that's assuming somebody that discharges their firearm and is using insurance is automatically a criminal. That erodes due process and the idea that we have a right to a jury of our peers before we're ever deemed guilty. And only at that point should that part of the conversation even come into play. So the second issue with it is that it's actually not even illegal to insure a crime here in Washington. They made it up. It was a flat out embellishment of a court case, one singular court case where the judge ruled and said that it's illegal to cover a criminal act in one court case. And they turned that in and they made public policy out of it and banned now three or four different insurance membership type programs. And there's thousands of gun owners that had zero complaints with their policies. They had also had no claims because these are responsible gun owners that aren't willy-nilly discharging their firearms. So that's something that they did without legislation, and they just, waved a magic wand and said, nope, you can't do that. So that's something I would do day one, is I'd allow gun owners to have back their membership programs, because I think that was an overreach in multiple ways. And we've got small business owners here in Washington that offer those plans, and now they're being put out of business. So that's something we could do day one. Now, a short example, to not be a long-winded politician here, of something that I would need help with, like the state legislature on. What's a good one here? I mean, reducing taxes is going to be the most important thing. We pay right now over $600 million in taxes on insurance in the state of Washington. That's $600 million in extra costs coming out of the pockets of everyday Washingtonians that should go back in your pockets immediately.
Wait, Anthony, why can't it just come out of their profits?
Well, we all know that insurance companies are greedy, right? So of course they are going to pass on those taxes to us. So it's only reasonable that, adding more taxes on insurance, which is what they've been trying to do in recent years. As recently as this past year, they wanted to add a surcharge here in Washington to help fight forest fires. And they were going to add that insurance on your car insurance and your boat insurance and your motorcycle insurance. So, I hope to work with legislators that realize that insurance is expensive enough as it is, and that we need to be doing things to reduce costs. As we've seen so many people lose jobs and income right now, my number one goal is reducing the tax load that the state pays. We need that money back in the communities, in the people's hands that know how to do, to do good with it.
Nice. That's awesome. Great question, John. Also in the chat box, I see that Ryan, how's it going, Ryan? Good to see you. Ryan had in the chat box, so state governments are taking supplies from people who are hoarding medical devices. Can either Anthony or Joseph explain to folks why the free market and not government can reduce hoarding? Looks like Joe wants to.
So in reality, the free market can reduce this hoarding by doing what some of them have done. Now, unfortunately, some of them are doing it because they were ordered to. But the free market can do this by just saying, we're in this time of crisis. We're going to switch around what we're doing. We're going to pause what we normally do and make these other things. Now, we all know, we've all seen Costco has started to limit people on what they can and can't buy, but that's just so that everyone can have it. that's a private business making a private decision. It's not government telling them to make this decision. And I will respect their decision to make decisions business-based, not government telling them this is what they have to do. But what I want to see, what I think can be done is we just make those, have those businesses are able to go and do it on their own. What they see is they see a crisis, they want to go out there and they want to help. These people can go out there and they can help and start saying, hey, we're going to make ventilators for the hospitals. We're going to make extra masks. Anybody who can help, we're hiring extra people to come in and do this. I believe opening up their factories to employing extra people running when they can, but also telling government, we don't need you to tell us to do this. We are already on the ball and have started to do this, and we've got plans. So I think honestly the best thing to do is have businesses and individuals such as ourselves can go out there and just support one another. We don't need to have a small market or small government solution to this. Is let business do what business does, and that business will do what they need to.
Yeah, I think Joseph's right on a lot of that. I think it's one thing for the public to be critical of companies hoarding, and it's another thing for the government to be critical of companies hoarding. And the reason why it's hypocritical is because government specifically prevents more product from coming onto the market. Government has no business judging a company for doing something when they're preventing other companies from bringing more into the market and doing the right thing. So what I mean by that is right now, like there's a shortage on albuterol medication for asthma patients. Okay, people with breathing issues are extremely at risk right now for the coronavirus, and we don't have enough medication right now. The government prevents us from importing that medication from other countries. I could get that medication down in Mexico for $12 right now, but if I went and bought 8 of them, because I could die if I don't have them, and the last 3 I bought have crapped out after 2-3 weeks, and I have to constantly throw them away. So when government wants to look at somebody and say, no, you're hoarding something, when somebody thinks that they need it, and the government is actively prohibiting more market from being accessible for people, I think it's wrong. So government needs to get out of the way. They need to let companies produce things that people want to buy so that they can make it as cheap as possible for everybody.
Yeah, there you have it. I think Ryan, who originally asked the question, commented as well, basically saying, when you open up and actually have a free market is where you have private companies that are allowed to produce things that consumers want and need, then you have them. I mean, they start to produce more, flooding the market with supply, and then the hoarders, there's no incentive for them to hoard because they can't just buy something and then jack the price up because of low supply, because people could just go and get it cheaply from anywhere. So that's a great point, follow-up point from Ryan. Let's see. So who's next with a question for Joe or Anthony?
I have a question.
Cool.
How's it going, man? So as some of you might know, I'm in healthcare. I'm a chiropractor in Redmond. And so my questions usually are surrounding health insurance. And I know the state legislation has a big impact with health insurance, as does the insurance commissioner. So I know that state legislation just passed health insurance is not being able to require pre-authorization until 6 visits or something like that in any healthcare facility pertaining to chiropractic anyway. But the bigger question is, what power does the insurance commissioner have when it comes to health insurance companies and being more transparent toward their clients as far as what's covered, what's not covered? Because it seems like not even just chiropractic, all types of healthcare, people go into the ER, they go into their own general practitioners, and they don't know what's covered, what's not covered, and they get some magical bill later on down the road that says they owe all this money and that their insurance isn't covered. So how much power does the insurance commissioner have to deal with those types of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's one basic principle here that we need to highlight on this is, let's say, John, you and one of your rich billionaire buddies, because I know you got some, and we need them here, to be donating to our campaigns. But let's say you and Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates wanted to open up an insurance company here in Washington that didn't want to do pre-authorizations. It'd be almost impossible. Okay. If you wanted to create an insurance company and a set of products that were more like package based, maybe you, shopping for a meal at McDonald's, right? You get your number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, you got all these different options, and it's like, okay, well, a birth is XYZ cost, broken leg is going to cost you $300, a birth's going to cost you $3,000, right? If you had a company that even wanted to do that right now, they couldn't, because the bureaucracy in place wouldn't allow them to. So what that does is it makes the companies that don't care about us and they don't care about transparency, it leaves them in power and they don't have to change their business practices. So I think there's two ways this conversation can go. A typical statist type politician would pass laws that make things illegal for them to do. I think insurance is already one of the most heavily regulated industries in the world, and it's still corrupted and harmful to us in many ways. I don't think more regulations is the answer to that problem. I think we need to make it easier for competition to come in and to challenge their stranglehold on the market. And we also, frankly, just need to reduce the cost of care overall, so people don't need to rely on insurance as much. Insurance used to be something that was for worst case scenarios, but we have an economy where so many people live paycheck to paycheck that worst case scenario is a flu for them, right? And they don't have $50 to go to the doctor sometimes. There's so many things we need to be doing to reducing the cost of care so people don't have to rely on insurance, increase competition so that the crappy companies have, somebody that they're fighting against for market share. There's like 12 counties here in Washington with one choice on the insurance market. They can get away with murder because of it. So we need to open things up, make things easier, and allow 21st century innovation to come into play.
Boom. Nice. So let's see, we're at 7:45, or we're about to be at 7:45. Just wanted to touch base on time because some folks here, you might be able to stay longer, and that's cool. We're happy to stay a few more minutes. If you have to go, we respect that. Though it'd be awesome if we could maybe chat over at least, a few more questions. So if you have a question, let us know, or let us know in the chat box. I had a quick question something that I felt like we ought to have the opportunity to touch on. I want to hear from Joe on this because frankly, I'm just curious, and not to open up a can of worms here. I just wanted to, for the sake of our membership of the Libertarian Party and the fact that this is a Libertarian Party town hall, I wanted to ask you about your history with the Libertarian Party, because one thing that I didn't mention when introducing you was you're actually our most recent vice chair of the Libertarian Party. And well, it just so happens that you have a new letter by your name right now as a candidate. And I just think that our members are bound to be curious to hear from you on that. And just, thought you should speak on it.
So yeah, I am the past vice chair. John has graciously taken that title away from me, of the Libertarian Party of King County. And
take over.
Yes, I was. So my political history spans this way. I was a Republican, and I slowly, as a high school senior, I started paying attention to politics. I was a Republican. That's the way my family was. But as I got older, I started seeing where everything was lining up, and I was more libertarian. I'm still a dues-paying member to this LPKC, LPWA, and LP National. And some of you might hear my 3-year-old right now. I don't know if you can or not. But my district has a history of only supporting the two parties. As bad as that sounds, we support people with different ideas within those two parties. And taking advice from many fellow libertarians, a lot of people who are claimed independent as their official title. I'm not a libertarian, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Green Party member, I'm none of this. It was a lot of consideration, and that's what took me a while to make my announcement. It was taking all those things into consideration, especially people who knew my district. Being a past Republican, I figured this was the best way to support the libertarian ideas and support the small government was to run with the R next to my name. Now, I've always been conservative in my beliefs. I've always had a lot of those conservative small government beliefs, and I've always held those, and I've used those in my and I think they helped me become a better libertarian. There might be some libertarians who disagree with me, but that's what we like to do, is we like to find where we have our differences and find our common grounds. We will argue more about our differences, though, as many of us in the Libertarian Party know. And that's something I enjoy. I enjoy finding where our differences are and finding where we can come together. And that's something I would like to be able to bridge that gap. Yes, I am running as a Republican, but it doesn't take away my libertarian roots. I like to point to our most famous libertarian politician, Ron Paul. He's a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party, and I think he's a mentor to many young people who would like to learn about libertarianism. And it's where I first learned about libertarianism, was through Ron Paul and his son Rand. But I would like to see us do many things together, working together and building bridges. And that's where I'm coming in, is trying to build those bridges.
Nice. Hey, thank you for taking that question of mine. I think what the headline would be, if I ran the newspapers, it would be Joe Cimaomo, libertarian who wants to take over the Republican Party in Washington, right? So who else has a question? Oh, let's see. Daniel Judd has a question for Anthony. Do you want to unmute yourself, Daniel?
First of all, I want to say hey to Joe. Joe and I grew up together.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. So my question is for Anthony. I'm a farmer's insurance agent, and so obviously I'm really vested in your campaign and what you're going to do to the insurance sector. One of the things that you just said was that insurance is there for worst case scenario. We're seeing right now with COVID and everything how hurt everybody is getting, and right now the insurance companies are not offering coverage because it's an excluded part of the policy, which for a very good reason. If insurance companies were to start paying out right now, a lot of them would go bankrupt because they just don't have that kind of bankroll to bankroll the whole country in lost business claims. But I'm afraid we're also setting ourselves up for earthquake. Here in Washington State, there's only a handful of companies that offer earthquake insurance. The big insurance companies don't offer it at all. Is that something that you might feel, what would you do to help open up the earthquake market to prevent a catastrophe like we have now with COVID when that big earthquake finally does hit? And what would you do to open that market up to make it a more liable market? Because earthquake insurance is way too expensive right now.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I have roots in P&C, so you and I could probably talk for days. You know, and to kind of recap what his question was about the business income, a lot of business insurance policies will have coverage for things called like lost income if something bad happens and a claim of some sort happens. And what we're seeing is some insurance companies are denying coverage for those claims, and there's a little bit of a legal ease issue going on there that basically is viruses are not a covered claim, right? Just like if you don't have earthquake coverage, earthquake isn't a covered claim. And what the insurance commissioner did was he made a statement. He told business owners to look into this to see if they have coverage. And he did that without setting any type of basic premise of why it may or may not be covered. And he really, honestly, he sold insurance companies up a creek with it because they started getting a lot of calls, and people are scared right now. So they have a right to get their information, right? They should be calling and talking to their agents. But it was under a pretense by the insurance commissioner that I thought was a little disingenuous and disingenuine, honestly. I also think at that same time, there's things he could be doing right now, or at least advocating for the governor to do, that would help business owners and help insurance companies. I'm seeing a lot of people that are wanting to put pressure on the insurance companies to cover these claims. But like you said, there's no way to cover them. The way the policies are written, they haven't been underwritten or premiums charged to any way that would allow coverage for those. And you're right, it would bankrupt companies. But what if we could work together with these insurance companies, find ways to reduce the government burden on their business and give them a way to offer some sort of coverage? And one of the things that we have an issue with right now is there's one size fits all rules in place. If an insurance company does one thing for one person, they have to do it the exact same for everybody. And right now there's not, a lot of people are in similar situations, but that doesn't mean that everybody's exactly the same. And we don't have any flexibility right now. We have so much in taxes that these companies are paying, so much in fees. Most of these property and casualty insurance companies actually only make a couple % profit margin. It's the health insurance companies that are a lot more profitable. But in respect to the earthquake coverage, it kind of comes down to the same thing, right? It's so hard to bring new policies into the market here that we're stuck with, I think, like 2 companies, maybe 3 that we can sell. So I want to try to bring in as many as we can. And I also want to try to start educating people on why it's important to have some earthquake coverage. And frankly, with flood insurance as well, it's kind of the same issue, right? Right now, we don't have flood coverage in Washington unless you buy a FEMA program. So we need to open up the market more to allow those companies to come in, offer some products. And the government here has just made it so costly and burdensome to do business. And the risks are legitimately high here for both flood and earthquake, that these companies just don't want to take on that risk. So, the solution isn't always going to be insurance. If we're worried about an earthquake, well, one of the issues with earthquake is rebuilding. Well, why is it so expensive to rebuild, right? What can we do to reduce the cost to rebuild a home if there's a fire or an earthquake? And that's where somebody like Joseph can come into play and make it so it's going to be less painful to solve these problems after the fact, so that we're not always looking towards the insurance companies to bail us out. So, and let me preface this just real quick. This last statement is, I enjoy insurance. I think there's a very good reason to have it. I'm not one of these people that's, hates insurance. I have plenty of it. I think it can really change a person's life. I've taken phone calls at 2 a.m. in the morning if somebody's house is burning to the ground, and they've lost everything. And for $500 a month, they had their home repaired and completely rebuilt. So the key here is looking at both sides of the situation and finding solutions that work for everybody, and not just one size fits all.
Dang, bro. It's awesome.
Hey, Miguel, I was reading the chat and I saw that Ryan had asked the question if I would start a libertarian caucus when down in Olympia. And honestly, I don't think I would start a libertarian caucus. I would do something that I think Arnold Schwarzenegger did when he was governor of California. I don't know if I'd be able to set up a tent outside, but he set up what he called the stogie tent. I know Nathan would like this one. He set up a tent outside the state capitol where lawmakers from both sides of the aisle, if they just need a 10-minute break to go have a smoke or just have a drink of water or to do something, they could go out there and they could talk to each other like individuals. And I think that would be more of what I would try to do, is set up a break time caucus. I don't know what I'd actually call it, but something where we're all getting together and talking about the issues and finding our solutions and working from there. And maybe we call it the Libertarian Caucus, but we find a way to do it, and we are able to take a break out there if people want to have a smoke while they're out there, enjoy their cigar, enjoy a soda or something. I don't think they're allowed to drink on Capitol grounds, but we might fix that too. Me and Anthony, we'll figure that out.
A follow-up question: What would be allowed to be smoked in these tents?
I believe I would just go with what they currently are allowing there at the moment. I'm sure we could figure some other things out, but we will we'll go from there. But right now, I believe it's there is a smoking corner there at the Capitol, but I'd try to make it more inclusive to where it's, everyone can come in and join and not feel like they're being excluded because maybe they don't smoke, but they want to go out there and take a break and talk with one of their colleagues about a bill that's coming up, and they want to find ways to make it better or ways to get rid of it and go from there.
Cool. Let's see. All right. Well, we probably ought to be wrapping up for tonight. We're getting to about 8 o'clock. I'm sure we could do this for hours, and there would be endless things to talk about. Thank you for taking 1 hour out of your evenings to be here with us, both Anthony and Joe and everybody else here. This was super fun. Why don't we unmute ourselves, give these guys a round of applause, cheer. Let's show them our appreciation for taking the time to just chat with us today. Have our bit of a voice.
All right. Thanks, guys.
We appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time. What else? Any closing remarks you'd like to make?
Go for it, Joseph.
All right, I guess I'll go first on this one. I want to say thank you all for coming. Thank you for dealing with the ramblings of politician or politicians, because you run for something, Anthony. You're a politician now. I thank you. I thank you guys for coming and just bring up some questions. And Miguel, I do thank you for asking the tough question about why I have a different letter behind my name right now. I'm never going to shy away from any of the questions anyone asks. I appreciate the questions. I appreciate all of you for asking. I do hope that you will reach out to me if you would like to ask more questions, if you'd like to volunteer for my campaign, donate to my campaign. But I want to just thank you all again for taking time out of a Friday evening when I know that there's way better things you could be doing, such as Tiger King. I'll do a shameless plug for Netflix right there. I hope they pay me for it. But it takes people to make changes, and the people who are here tonight are going to help to make changes, and we appreciate that.
Nice. Where can people find you?
Sorry. I'm bad at promoting myself sometimes. I have a campaign manager for that, and he said he was going to swing into this, and he didn't. So he's in trouble. You can find me at Cimaomo for State Legislature. If everyone just wants to take a screenshot right there, it's CIMAOMO. Make sure I'm telling you guys the right thing. I ran through a bunch of names for this before I came up with it. Yes, Cimaomo for State Legislature. If you'd like to like the Facebook page, if you'd like to donate, right now the only way to digitally donate is through PayPal. I'm working to get the website up and running with the donate button. You can donate up to $1,000. I will gladly take $1,000. If you cannot give $1,000, I'll gladly take $500. If you can't, but if you need to give less, please just talk to me. We'll figure it out. There are PDC rules. I will give those to you when they come when you start to donate. Other than that, again, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you, Libertarian Party of King County, for hosting this. And thank you, Anthony, for setting this up, because without you, we would all be enjoying Tiger King right now.
Yeah, well, good news is you've got time tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night and the next day.
I've already watched it. That train wreck it's going to be watched again, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, Joseph, thanks for joining us here. One of the things about my campaign has been really about building bridges with people on topic issues. Whatever areas agreement that we have on, let's work together. And if we disagree, then that's okay. We don't have to hate each other. We can disagree and fight against each other on those issues. But, so it's important to me to be dialoguing with others that are already in office or might be, to build alliances and coalitions on issues that we agree on that are important for Washingtonians, so we can get stuff fixed for a change instead of just watching two parties argue with each other. But for those of you that aren't already following my campaign, I definitely need your help. We've got, I think, the most winnable libertarian race at the statewide level in history. And we've raised $50,000 already for this campaign. We're out polling a 40-year career politician. I'm doing media left and right. We will continue to push forward throughout this virus to really promote libertarian solutions to the issues that we're facing today. And if you could donate, I will gladly take up to $4,000 from you, and down to just a penny of your time as well. So my website is anthonywelti.com. If I could ask you for one non-monetary thing right now, go to my Facebook page, invite your entire friends list to like it, and leave me a review if you liked the ideas that we talked about tonight. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I would also like to officially endorse Anthony's Facebook page in terms of liking it. It's a very worthwhile thing to do. I love to go on there and argue with people or just look at some of the comments sometimes. Real fun stuff. And so everybody should do the same thing. So cool. Well, we will go ahead and sign off. Hope to see all of you guys again soon for other cool events. The Libertarian Party of King County is going to be doing lots of awesome upcoming virtual events, live streams, interactive events like this, both educational stuff, political stuff, as well as social stuff. So please keep an eye out for everything we're going to be doing so that we can continue to build our community here and build our impact and our influence and our voice. Ryan is asking for me to plug Liberty Wings, and yes, can you take like 60 seconds to do that?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is actually Anthony Welty's idea. The biggest problem is people don't have face masks. We're going to solve this problem. I've been working with Pickens and others. We're going to try to bring 1 million face masks here to Washington. We actually have a shipment coming in next week. Now, sorry to disappoint folks in King County, but the first face masks are going to Benton County and to Spokane County. We will be getting some to you too, very, very soon. But we need to raise a lot of money. We can get the masks very affordably. We're asking for a $5 donation. We have two types of masks. We have the N95 masks that are going to hospitals. We also have cloth reusable masks that people can wear and wear over and over and over again. So you don't have to keep using the same dirty old mask. You can wash it. So these are going to be really great ways to stop the spread of the disease. As soon as the disease is over, people are going to go back to work. This is a libertarian solution to a pandemic that was largely exacerbated by government. So Welty has a phone call at 6 on Sunday. Before his 7 o'clock phone call with Nick Sarwark will be on there, the chair of the Libertarian Party. We're bringing everybody on board. This is going to be huge. Probably the biggest, you name it.
Cool. So
Anthony, I need a sign. I was going to go get one from you and then we all got shut down.
Awesome. Yeah. So if anybody wants swag, I've got signs and shirts available on my website. If you order one through there, what that'll do is that will kind of put you in queue, so to speak, and then we'll get you connected with a regional field director, because that way we don't have to mail as much. It saves on shipping, and we can put money into the pockets of you. So, Margaret, I'm in Marysville for the next couple of weeks until God knows when right now. I have not been venturing out much, but if you wanted to meet 6 feet apart, I'd be happy to hand you a sign. I could
Maybe
use
one of these days.
Pressure.
Okay.
So, all right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Hey, thanks to both of you.
Thank you.